Welcome to the game room where we're going to have a look at my NES collection in its entirety. We're going to start with the cartridge only and then work our way to the boxed games. I've got a bunch here to show you today, and I'm really excited to take you through them. I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on them. I haven't played them all, to be honest. And a couple of other things to note I'll talk about as we go. So talk about the games, talk about a bit of other stuff to do with collecting. It should be a lot of fun. Let's go! Alright, so our first game that we're going to unsheath here is Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Sounds a bit wobbly, that one. You'll notice that when we go through my games, a lot of them have some wear in one state or another. I'm not a collector that goes after perfect games at all. I really enjoy that they've got a bit of character to them, a bit beat up. That's how used to kind of swap them and have them and know that they've had a good life when they're like that. I remember as a kid you used to have heaps of these, and as much as you tried to keep them in pristine condition, they just never were. So I really enjoy that. It means I pick up a cheaper deal, and it's a way to grab cheaper games. As we go through, you'll notice that these are all power-based games. I live in Australia. I can grab games from any of the power regions to play. Some of them are Australia specific, but most of them are from UK, like this one, so Great Britain, or from other places. So Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!, not much that needs to be said about that. Terrific game. Never managed to beat this one, but very much a rhythm game. So a rhythm game pretending to be I guess a lot of sports games are rhythm games, aren't they? Ryga. I have not actually popped this one in at all, and I haven't had much of a go at this on emulators and things either. I actually stopped collecting NES games a little while back. I haven't picked up any for ages because I have the NES Mini, and that holds everything that I want. So I've got this collection that I often don't play physically anymore. I would like to chuck them in and play them physically at some stage, but maybe that will have to wait. Ryga, this is an Italian release of the game. I heard really good things, but I've also heard that you have to upgrade your character as you go, which I don't tend to love in these old 8-bit games where you have to make your character stronger or faster or that type of thing through grinding. I need to get into this one. I bought it to play it, as yet unplayed. Next one off the rank here is Shadow Warriors 2, which in America is called Ninja Gaiden 2. This bit of wear down there. Let's see, this is an Australian release, this game. It is not as good as the first game, in my opinion, just because of that difficulty level. This one isn't as difficult as the first one. The first one I had as a kid growing up, and I never beat it until I was an adult. So I beat this one on the first try, and I am not someone who's amazing at video games, just your average, and I play 8-bit games generally until I get frustrated with them and put them down, and to be able to beat that one on its first try means that it is a lot easier than the first. Diggity Rock, let's have a look. This one is an Italian release as well. Diggity Rock is a release by Rare. It is an average platformer. I grabbed it knowing that it was a Rare title, and as in Rare developed title, and really love Battletoads and things like that. This one is not a stellar game. It's a bit of fun, but you can get better. So digging in the mines and avoiding the enemies, that type of thing. All right, Blue Shadow, which in America is called Shadow of the Ninja. This is a UK release. This one has gone up a little bit in price because it is a similar game to your Ninja Gaidens or your Shadow Warriors. So this one you can play 2 players simultaneously, where you cannot do that on Ninja Gaiden. I've played a little bit of it and it was a lot of fun, I need to get back into this one. So very much a Ninja Gaiden style game by Tito. Cobra Triangle, another Rare developed game. This one is a UK release. So this one I had as a kid, so in my younger years. It was good fun. My brother played it a lot more than I did because he was obsessed with anything to do with fishing and boats and that type of thing. So being a boat racing game, he played this one a lot. But I did enjoy it when I played it. Avoid the mines, avoid the sharks, blast some boats, capture or try and race in different points, try and save people. It has a lot going on. It's definitely not a boring game. It is a very difficult game though. Cobra Triangle, give it a go if you have not. It is a great little racing shooting title. Rescue the Embassy Mission. Another Italian release. This game is what you make of it, which sounds really weird, but it is, you go into it, you choose your level of difficulty, and then you go from there, and it has little scenarios where you are trying to be the SWAT team or the rescue team going in to rescue hostages at the embassy. It has a fair bit going on that when you first play it is really quite difficult to grasp, but when you get the hang of it, it is a lot of fun. I remember hiring this one. Actually, did I hire it? No, I just bought it. I bought it secondhand from the video rental shop, my local one, and it was $10 at the time, which was super cheap, and it just came with a little case. And this, I think it had the manual with it, but I don't think I needed it. I think I figured it out eventually, and it was worth the $10. It was not worth any more than that back in the day. I would have been disappointed if I bought it as a new release with a new release price tag, but for a cheaper game, if you were able to get this one cheap, it does provide a lot of fun. Even like a third-person shooting section there, and it's got abseiling down the building and trying to dodge the spotlights so that you don't get shot. It's got a lot of things going on. It does them really well, but it is quite basic in its gameplay and in the length of game as well. POW, so Prisoners of War SNK release, another Italian. This one's got a very average label. When I say average, it's got a bad label. I bought it knowing that because it was going up a little bit in price and I didn't want to pay the full price. And it is a really fun game. Unfortunately, it is only one player. It is a beat 'em up, a little bit like Double Dragon, except your enemies usually keel over in one or two hits. And it is a side scroller, but it also has up and down movement as well, which is what I definitely wanted as a kid with these type of beat 'em ups, and ones that I still look for, with that motion of up and down as well as left and right. Prisoners of War has what I consider to be the best soundtrack that I have found on the NES. It is really fun. The soundtrack really makes this game. If it didn't have that soundtrack, it wouldn't be as fun as it is. The soundtrack really amps it up and makes it feel like you're on a desperate mission to get out of a prisoner of war camp. It is one that I used to play with the code that gave you, I think, 30 lives. And if I play it again, it will definitely be one I use the 30 lives cheat on, because it is not easy. And I like to kind of play with those with a little bit of a limitation of 30 lives or so, but also with the ability to be able to beat them, which I wouldn't be able to just on the basic settings. Blaster Master, not one that I had as a kid. Sunsoft release, supposed to be a quality title. Played a little bit. Looks fun. Different game modes, which is cool. So you've got your side-scrolling and your over-the-top, the top-down gameplay as well. Fun little title. Looking forward to playing more. Werewolf, The Last Warrior. What a weird game. What a kind of great title that doesn't get a great deal of, I guess, much of a spotlight put on it, but it is well worth checking out. This has a really nice image on the label, which you cannot see on mine because mine's all torn up. It looks like mine's an Australian release. It's got the little S at the end there. There we go. So just zooming on that. But it's got a really cool label of the werewolf popping out of the cartridge, past the label, and you can see the PCB back there. It's really cool. We didn't get, as far as I know, we didn't get the little comic book that came with it in the US. I had this one. I bought it secondhand, but I bought it when the NES was in its prime. It was a weird game, very dark, very much spooky, a spooky style. It's a really good Halloween style game that is really looked over because some of the controls can be hard, and there's one part that early on we have to use the werewolf's blade to stick up into the roof to be able to climb over. And just getting that bit right is tricky. And then learning how to do the backflip in order to, it's got invincibility frames, which it's supposed to have, but it's without knowing those things, it can be really tricky. It is one that I really enjoyed playing as a kid, but one that I always found difficult. And if I had left it a while, I'd have to relearn everything. But it is a cool game. It is very much worth checking out. Adventure Island 2. I can't tell where this one came from, but Adventure Island 2, this was one of my friends' games back in the day. Actually, a fair few of them are, and family and that type of thing. And the rest came off eBay or from a couple of markets and things like that. Not many from anywhere else. Adventure Island 2 was really fun, riding the dinosaurs, being able to hold items over or hold the dinosaurs over from stage to stage was a really good idea. Whoops. Sorry, I'll bring you back. But it is a quality game. Of course, it's Wonder Boy. It's the Wonder Boy series, Hudson Soft, but Nintendo called it Adventure Island. Double Dragon. I haven't played much of the NES Double Dragon. I really liked the Master System Double Dragon as a kid and as an adult. It is a quality Double Dragon, probably the best on the 8, actually, yeah, I would say it's definitely the best on the 8-bit. And I played a little bit of this, but getting your abilities taken away from you at the beginning, well, they feel like they've been taken away if you've played Double Dragon before, but actually you have to learn each ability in the NES version is a bit of a pain. I really like just having them at the beginning, but that's what they chose to go for to kind of make the replayability a little bit better, I suppose, or to make it more exciting as you go on in the game, but I did not enjoy that side of things very much. Double Dragon 2. So this is an X-Rental. I really love X-Rental cartridge games. They're so cool. This one's from Ballerine Video. This is one from my local growing up. So I lived at St Leonard's in Victoria. This one was at Drysdale in Victoria, which was on the Ballerine Peninsula. Ballerine Video, which turned into a Video Easy. So nostalgic and this type of thing out and seeing, the rental markings on it. I don't think I ever rented this one, but we had a friend that had this game. And playing Double Dragon, it was an awesome time. It is the best Double Dragon on the NES out of the 3. Give that one a go. If you have not, you won't be disappointed. Bobble. This is good fun. So many levels. I think there's 99, but it just feels like it goes on forever. It's got that repeating music loop that feels like it's going to drive you insane, but just becomes I don't know, it just kind of falls into the background and it just becomes part of the gameplay, and you find yourself kind of, I guess, doing a lot of the movements with that music as well. It is a classic. It is so much fun. It is very good on the NES. Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with Bobble. Terminator 2. Sorry, did I say where did this one come from? UK release. Terminator 2 Judgment Day, LGN title. It is it's an Australian release too, this cartridge. It is a good game. It's short though. I don't think I've completed it fully yet. I keep getting to the end level and right up to the end where it's make or break, and I break. But I really enjoy it. It follows the movie really well. It takes those big kind of set pieces from the movie and turns it into 8-bit, and it's a bit clanky in sections, and it doesn't feel long enough and it doesn't feel polished enough, but it is a very fun time. I only keep games that I want to play. I do not keep games that I never see myself playing again. They have to be good games, or games that I consider good, and Terminator 2 I do consider good. And if you haven't given it a go, and especially if you haven't given it a go just because it's an LJN, do yourself a favour, have a look into a few of those LGN games. There are some that are not as bad as you might expect. And when I say not as bad as you might expect, there are actually some good ones in there as well. Die Hard. This is an Australian cartridge. It is one that has gone up a bit in price, so it's not hugely expensive, but it is a bit harder to find. It was always the case in Australia. I remember renting this one from that local video store, Ballarat Video, and having a really good time with it, but finding it really difficult and never seeing it anywhere else, never seeing it anywhere that I'd frequented to purchase or things. Used to buy most of games secondhand just because it was so much cheaper than, well, it was a fair bit cheaper than buying them new. Never saw Die Hard around. It is often considered a bad game. I do not think it is. It is very tricky. It is also hard to know what you're doing. So if you plan on giving this one a go, take a guide along with you. It is that overhead perspective, a bit like a commando style where you're walking around shooting enemies, or like a Jurassic Park on the NES as well. But it is really clever in some of the stuff that it does. It is really clever in that you're going around in your bare feet, and when you walk on the shattered glass that has been shot out, your character loses health. That's type of stuff that just you didn't see back in the NES era, and they have it in this Activision title, and it is unlike any other game on the NES, I would say. It has elements of games from the NES, but it is completely its own thing. It is a lot of fun. That is it for the cartridge only. Now we're on to the boxes. The boxes I'll bring those over. So, first one we have here is Shadow Warriors, which is Ninja Gaiden. Had this one as a kid. This box is in pretty good nick, actually, in comparison to all my other stuff. I really enjoyed Shadow Warriors as a kid. It was an excellent game. This is an Italian release here. I've got the manual to this one as well. It is a game that is it's a great idea that they had to change up the arcade, because I'm never going to be able to make the arcade game into something that would play like it on the NES. So they changed it up completely. The arcade game is a beat 'em up, a little bit like your Double Dragon, but it has a lot better visuals, as in your graphics. But it is pretty tricky, the arcade. it also, if you're playing one player in the arcade, there are some parts that if you're not perfect at it, or if you struggle a bit with it, then it continually sends you back. It says the biggest arcade hit. I don't know what they mean by biggest in comparison to what. A lot of people really dislike the arcade game. I really enjoy the arcade game. It is one of my favorite arcade games, actually. We had it, my parents owned a caravan park. We used to live at the caravan park in the house in the caravan park, basically. And we had a game room for the caravan park. We had Shadow Warriors out there at one time, and it was a blast. I was so thrilled with that. I was upset when they took it away and changed it with a different one. Arcade's great. If you haven't played it, I would recommend. And this game is great. Only beat it as an adult, never as a kid. It is tricky. Yeah, it is well worth a playthrough then. Steinx. This one is... it's okay, this game. It has big sprites. So you won't find many action games with as big a sprites as this one. So the sprites took up a lot of the screen, actually, and it was not something that you saw a lot of on the NES. NES was not known for their big sprites. Sega did more of that, in my opinion. This one's an Australian cartridge. Do I have a manual in there? No manual. A Steinx side-scrolling action game. The storyline was weird in the English-speaking version. So over in Japan, the storyline was a lot different, and I don't think it involved a kid as the main protagonist that turns into some massive Conan-like person. It would have been good to just keep the original story, but there you go. Faxanadu. I bought this one because straight after I played... I shouldn't say straight after. It was after I played Zelda 2. I was up for another game similar. So I bought this one, and then I have not had much of a go at that one. This is one of the rare times I removed most of the label. I got a bit sick of it, so I stopped. But it's a cash converter, so I don't like the cash converters labels in Australia, but all other ones I do. Yeah, so your Zelda type gameplay, as in Zelda 2 type gameplay, side-scrolling. I've heard lots of good things, but haven't played as yet. Haven't played any of this. Seen a bit, but never played. This is a UK release. It's in pretty good nick, actually, apart from that label. Comes with its manual as well. Yeah. Looking forward to spending time with that at some stage in my life. What else do we have? The Battle of Olympus. Here is an amazing game. This is a lot like the Faxanadu, which is purely by chance because I haven't got these in order. This is one that I had as a kid. I remember buying this for $10 new at the end of the NES life, the NES console's life, when the Super Nintendo was well and truly out and games were going cheap in some places. At the toy store that was in Geelong, which was our closest city, they had this one for sale for $10 new, and it was the best $10 I ever spent. It is an amazing game. It is still a lot of fun to play these days. Very much, as I said, your Zelda 2 style gameplay, side-scrolling, go and collect all the different things in different places. No manual. How sad. Might have to look around for a manual for that one, because it is one of my favourite games on the NES. The passwords were the part that always tripped me up in this. The passwords were so tricky to write down as a kid. They were near impossible, and then I would lose track, and then I'd lose all my progress. But these days you can just take a photo or use something like the NES Mini with save states. Well worth playing. I just showcased this one as well on the Game Boy. It's got a Game Boy port that's not very well known. That's almost the same as the NES version. Guerrilla War. SNK release. This time you have unlimited continue, so you just play this one until you get sick of it or until you beat it. 2 players simultaneous. From the arcade, which I don't think I've ever played the arcade of Guerrilla War. This one was great fun. Right, not in there. Let's see, where's this one? This is an Australian release as well, this one. So this was a lot of fun. As a kid, it's not one that I'll go back to much, but as a kid, this was the closest thing that you could have to arcade in your house where you're playing 2 players simultaneously. There's not a lot of 2 players simultaneously. There's not a lot of NES games that I remember playing as a kid that had that. So when you found an action game that had that, that was the best fun. Kirbys Adventure, I've just kept this one for my kids because I'm not much into Kirby. I like the idea, but it's too easy to be fun. As an adult, you get over it pretty quick. But it has all that Kirby style goodness of sucking in enemies and changing your abilities and that type of thing. UK, no booklet with this one. Box is in pretty rough condition, but it is a great game to start on as a kid. I have started all 3 of my boys on this one. This is one of their very first games each because of how easy it is and because of its lack of buttons that they need to learn. Donkey Kong Classics. I had this one as a kid and I didn't much enjoy it. It was okay, but it was not great. Mine's in really rough condition here. There's a little price tag or something. It's probably not a price tag, it's probably just a identifier. Let's see, where's this one come from? It doesn't tell me because it's ripped off. Yeah, Donkey Kong Classics came with the original Donkey Kong, but I think it was missing a level. It came with Donkey Kong Jr. as well, which is the one that I played most as a kid. We used to play a little bit of the first one, but we spent most of our time with Junior, where you play as Donkey Kong Jr. rather than as Jumpman. Good fun for a little while and then get over it, especially with the levels that kind of rotate. Rainbow Islands, Bobble 2, an Ocean release. This one is apparently different than the US version, which is strange. Excuse me, especially with the naming conventions. So this being Bobble 2, but there's 2 different versions of this, and it's called Rainbow Islands. Then they actually have a Bobble 2 game, and then it's a strange little naming conventions of this one. Then they have Parasol Stars, which is different again, but in the same series, and I can't tell which one that's supposed to be. This one has the booklet. It is one from Australia. So it's an Australian release as well. Yeah, it's not too shabby. It is okay. I never really enjoyed it much as a kid. You shoot out rainbows. You try and drop the rainbows on the enemies' heads. You try and climb up as the water is rising. I remember Jackie Chan and its water rising. That was kind of gave you anxiety as a kid, those type of levels, but good fun nevertheless. Roller Games is one that I rented in when I was a kid and I enjoyed. So when I saw this one for sale at it's like an antique booth, I picked this one up. It has writing and stuff all over it, but it is a fun game. Konami title, in the vein of things like, what's that one the Americans all love? It has a bit of room to go up and down as well. It has lots of falling deaths. You are on a set of rollerblades, a sick pair of rollerblades from the 90s or late 80s, and you are rollerblading, you are roller gaming your way to save the world, I suppose, I don't know. But it's a beat 'em up on rollerblades. I mean, what could be tougher? It is fun though. It is not a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination, but it is good fun. My manual is here, but it has been stapled. Always best to staple your manuals. Keep them all together. Might go through and staple all my other manuals. Good idea, wouldn't it? Australian release with this one. Might staple that box shut later. Keep it all together. Roller games, worth a play through. If you have not given that one a go, give it a go. It is very much something that is not talked about very often, but it is worth talking about. It's a good game. Double Dragon 3, The Sacred Stones. This is a good game. People don't like it because of its difficulty, and I understand it is frustrating if you don't get that first level done. But after that, it really opens up. If you can master that first level, where people often don't get past, then you should be right from there. This is an Australian release. It's got the Melbourne sticker on it. Not sticker, it's actually imprinted on the box. 2 players at the same time, which can make things a little bit tricky at times, but it is, it's a fun one. It's not as bad as people say, and in fact, it is not even a bad game. It's just a bit tricky, which a lot of the NES games, but because a lot of the NES games are, but because this one was tricky in that first stage, tricky straight away, then people gave up. Oh yeah, the arcade release of Double Dragon 3 was terrible, and that was also the case on the Game Boy. The NES version got the best version in that 8-bit era, and here it is. Next one up is Power Blade. Power Blade is a lot of fun. It is a side-scrolling game. I guess it's like has that Mega Man aspect where you can choose your level, but you're a little man with a little man. You're a man, a little sprite that is working their way through a futuristic environment, and with your boomerang or your power blade. And Italian release there. Australia had heaps of that, heaps of different releases from all around the power regions. It is one that I had as a kid. I really enjoyed it. You can choose whether your character has knockback when it gets hit by enemies or not. It is one that is getting a lot of love these days, especially because of the interest that the Power Blade 2's price tag has brought to the 2 Power Blade games. So because of that, people checked this one out a lot more and have found that it's a really solid game. It is a lot of fun. I loved it as a kid, and I still thoroughly enjoy it now. Well worth grabbing if you haven't got that one in your collection. Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu. Gee, I love the types of animations or the artwork that they have there. This was one of my favorites. I got this for one of my birthdays when I was younger. Not this very copy though, although this copy is from my local rental, I think. Let's have a look. Yep, there it is. Ballerine Video. So I had this game as a kid. I got it for one of my birthdays. No manual. And I loved this game. That's big sprites. I had no idea who Jackie Chan was. I was too young to see any of his more adult movies, and I didn't know. So I just loved the game for the game. It had nothing to do with the character itself. It was just a great game, and still is. The original Mario Brothers. Now, I've got the Mario Brothers box here, but I don't think it's the Mario Brothers cartridge inside. So that's the black box version of Mario there. The best game on the Nintendo, I would say. The best Mario game ever, in my opinion. I love this game. Probably because it was the first game that I ever played. And it's the first game that we had with the system. It was the Mario Duck Hunt version, which, yep, there it is. I've got the wrong one in there, but it doesn't worry me too much. And then, what's the manual for then? Oh, it's for Mario Duck Hunt. So that was just the best game to come with the system. It came with our Nintendo when I was growing up, and I loved that game. It never got old. You would put it away after playing it for a long time, and then you would just be straight back into it the next time you played the Nintendo. Or, it's just one that you could always pick up and have fun with, and that people who came over to play would like to play as well. Amazing. Solstice, The Quest for the Staff of Demnos. This is a game that I hired when I was sick as a kid, and couldn't believe how different it was than any of the other NES games that I had played. It is an isometric view puzzler platformer. It has lots of different items that you collect that do different things. It was completely different. Did I just say that? Completely different than anything else that I had played, and I just kind of found it so intriguing and kind of, just really out of the ordinary, and really wanted to own this game and never saw it for sale. This one's a UK release. Has the manual in there as well. Then I picked it up as an adult only a few years back for a really good price, because it doesn't seem like many people did enjoy it much. Maybe it's a bit too cryptic, or I'm not sure, but I remember as a kid I really enjoyed that game. Snake, Rattle and Roll, another Rare developed title. It was a little bit different in that it had the same feel as your Battletoads type game, except you're a snake getting around eating things to try and build up how big your snake was, and then your weight, and then you had to go on a set of scales in order to get past the level. So there's the scales there. It's got terrible cover, actually. I've never noticed, I've never paid attention to how really terrible that is. This one, UK release again. It is one that I hired from the video store as a kid, really enjoyed, never owned. Again, I never saw these games around much. As a kid, I didn't go to to where they sold video games very much. You'd either get them gifted, or you'd very rarely get to go and pick your own out. And when you did, you picked out one, and you picked it from the picture on the box and what was available in the second-hand spot, rather than anything else, really. This one I hired as a kid as well, Batman, the video game. For some reason, I had read, or thought that I had read, or heard from somewhere that this game had 99 levels, like as in your Bobble. And I just thought, this is going to be the best. 99 levels of this. This is an Australian release. It is a really solid game. I never passed it or never beat it as a kid. I haven't gone back to beat it as an adult, but I really thoroughly loved the Batman game as a kid. Sunsoft made some quality titles, and the music really added to their titles, and that is no exception. Great game, great music. Here's another birthday item as a kid, Battletoads. This was just the best beat 'em up that I had ever played, ever, as a kid on the NES. I had to get this one back as an adult just because of how fun this game was. anytime anyone would come around and we would play Battletoads, it would start off with the best interests at heart of beating the game, and then quickly devolve into just a slugfest of faces to try and kill the other person. It usually, the Australian release, it usually was because you got accidentally hit, or you'd accidentally hit someone else, and then you'd be like, I got to get you back, and then they'd be like, well, I'm getting you back, and then it would always end up in a battle between each other and never quite getting anywhere. As a kid, where could we get up to in this one? We could get past the turbo tunnel. That was okay. You wouldn't do it always, but you could get past the turbo tunnel and get right up to the snakes. Riding the snakes was probably the most difficult part to get past as a kid, and very rarely did ever get past that stage. It is still an amazing game, very flawed, but just something that was a bit of a marvel that it was able to be such a good game. NES Open, bought this one as a kid as well. I think it was the next rental that I bought. This one is weird. It's got such a massive manual that comes with it. It's really huge. It's almost as big as the box. And it has to have that because of all the instructions. But I really liked playing this as a kid. I went looking for the manual. That was silly of me. It's right there. This is an Australian release. I got this one cheap. It was cheap when I bought it as a kid. And this one was cheap when I bought it again as an adult. It does golf really well, and it has the characters in it as well. I remember playing can't remember what the game mode was called, but the golf people out there will be yelling at the screen, but I remember I used to play through the mode where you would bet a certain amount of money, and then if you won that tournament, then you would win double back. I'm pretty sure that's how it worked. But yeah, you'd play stroke play or match play. It's a really excellent golfing game. Ski or Die, had this one as a kid, and our cousins had this one as a kid as well, when I was young. And we all used to really enjoy this, especially because of the multiple player aspect. You can put their names in, and then I think you put their names in. Anyway, you can choose up to 6 people, and then you would go through the different events. You would play one person at a time, or some of the games. I know that the tube game, where you go down the mountain in the tube, that was 2 players, a head-to-head that you would play. It was a really good, fun action title with different gameplay elements for each event. This is an Australian release, this one. And it had Rodney Dangerfield in it as well, in the shop, selling you things for some reason that didn't know back then, but had seen his face around and always wondered why he was in that game. Right, we're coming close to the end. We have The Legend of Zelda. This is actually my cousin's title from when they were young. I had it as well. It's got the book and the map in there. See, this is the best type of stuff. Laminated. Look at that. It actually feels like something from the crypt. That's fantastic. And look, it's got the map added in there where my cousins had continued to draw on the different parts that were missing in the map. It's got a sticker here where the levels are. There's the other part drawn in. Oh man, if they ever wanted that back, they could just have this back. This is too cool. Yeah, that's very cool. And then it came with the manual as well. goodies in there? No. Oh yes, there are more goodies. Look at this. Look at this. There is a legend for on the old copy paper. 17th of November 1992. There we go. There's a level 9 game A with the little legend there. What's this one? Level 2 game B, and then other ones in here as well. I won't continually go through them, but how cool's that? Drawing out those maps as a kid. I never had the patience to do that, but I'm sure glad that I have this one. This is cool. Yeah, Zelda, what a great game. It was one that held your attention even if you didn't quite know what to do next. You would still just play to explore the world and see where you could go and what you could do, and burn every little tree and bush around the place to try and find secrets, all that type of thing. Very cool. Put all these back together so that they are all very well taken care of. A lot of the releases, a lot of the games that you used to buy as well had things like this. See, it's sticky tape on the front. It has no reason to be there, but something happened in the shop, I bet. Not always, but sometimes. Okay. And then I also have my cousin's copy of the Adventure of Link, so Zelda 2. I only finished this one as an adult. See, this one's even in the UK, but it was bought. I know this one was my cousin's back in the day, and it's a UK release on there. No manual in that one, unfortunately. But yeah, they just used to come from everywhere to Australia. Cheaper ways they could get them than they did. Beat this one as an adult. As I said, I was confused by the leveling up system. I had to look through a walkthrough as an adult. It is really tricky. It is really convoluted. It is a lot of fun with a walkthrough. Here is HAL Laboratories' new Ghostbusters 2 that we got in Australia. So this is an Australian release of that one. It is different than Ghostbusters 2 in any other form. It has all its bits in there. It's one that's gone up in price because it is a great little game where you can go around and zap ghosts in that. It's like a chibi, is that what they call it? Like a, they call it super deformed, which is a way of putting it, I suppose, but it is a lot of fun. And Gargoyle's Quest 2. This is one that is completely and utterly more expensive than it should be. It is a good game. It is the sequel to the Game Boy game. I had this one as a kid, fully boxed, manual, bought it for $10 with at the same shop that I bought the Battle of Olympus from. I enjoyed it as a kid. I held on to it until University Days, sold it off, and now it is worth a fortune. Bought this one for $50 at a, at a market, and because it had all its damage, they gave it to me for $50. But even then, that was a bit of a steal of a price because it has gone way up. This was Ghouls and Ghosts, Ghosts and Goblins fame. It had the little red monster, the demon. Can't remember their name at the moment. Firebrand. So it is the story of Firebrand. It continues on from the Game Boy version. It culminates in the Super Nintendo version of Demon's Crest. So they didn't call it Gargoyle's Quest 3. It was just called Demon's Crest. It is one that I have beat. I had it as a kid, but couldn't quite get past this massive bridge that you had to have a big jump for, and it was just too tricky for me to get past as a kid. So as an adult, I went back and played this one and beat it then, and since then it's gone right up in price, as I said. So $50 was a steal for the cartridge in really good condition, and the box in even better condition. It's a mess. Yeah, interesting to have one of those games as a kid and then sell it off and then get back in far worse condition. But yeah, it's not like, I don't know, I never really lament getting rid of my stuff, because it was kind of one of the reasons why I want to get back into it, is because, oh no, I had this stuff and now it's gone. Here we are, last one. This is a HES release. So this one was a Nintendo style multi-pack, 4 games for the price of 1. They used to release these in Australia. There we go, Australian made, with the kangaroo on there jumping around. It's New South Wales. They had these games that they would get from everywhere else and put them on. I don't think they actually made any games. I think they just either ported them or would take ports of them and put them together. So Pac-Man, Sidewinder, Duck Maze, and Othello in this one. None of the games are amazing, but it is a fairly good collection. The funny thing about these packs, though, is that they have to piggyback off one of your other genuine games. So this one goes into the system, and then you have to put a genuine game in there to trick that lock out chip. Otherwise, it would see it as not being an official game and not let you in. What does that say there? Oh, the old main super. Why is it called main super? The patent was pending, so that's why. There you go. For play on this product is manufactured in Australia by Home Entertainment Suppliers. That's what HES stands for. Home Entertainment Suppliers. Proprietary Limited. It is not designed, manufactured, sponsored, or endorsed by Nintendo. They really tried to cover themselves with this one. Nintendo and Nintendo Entertainment Systems are trademarks of Nintendo Company Limited. So they put that all over their gear to try not to get sued. And they even, HES cartridge for Nintendo, they didn't even say on the front that it was for the NES. They just hoped that you knew that because it's called HES. There is some stuff in here tucked away. Let's have a quick look at this. It is quite an interesting release. You don't see them shown off very much. You do see a lot for sale still in Australia over like on eBay and things like that. I do wonder if they will eventually go up in price. It's not something that I think of for my benefit, but more it's just, I just find it interesting that this out here. Normally this type of stuff is gobbled up by overseas purchasers because they want something a bit strange in their collection. Over here it's kind of like people remember them, but if you sold to overseas buyers, then they've got something that most people haven't seen over there. So here it is. Push firmly into back socket of HES. Use HES piggyback cartridge as shown on diagram, making sure that cartridge B is an original Nintendo cartridge. Nintendo system must be turned off at all times when connecting or disconnecting cartridges. There's the little instructions about that. Then it came with an epilepsy warning. It does have a lot of languages there. I wonder if they did have a release in different countries as well as Australia. What's this one here? And this is the instructions. This was my cousin's game as well. So they had this game, which I wonder if they were the people who put the highlight on there. It's got Pac-Man instructions, Sidewinder. Oh, it tells you how to set up here. Duck Maze and Othello. Important, before selecting game, press reset on your game system once. Use up and down control pad to move arrow and select game of your choice. Press start. Interesting release. Okay, that is it. Thank you for sticking with this video if you made it this far. I very much appreciate it. I really enjoy the NES. It is one of my favorite consoles. Not my favorite, but one of my favorite consoles. It is the first one that I had as a kid, and it has been a lot of fun going through this with you. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask, then pop them down below. Otherwise, I shall see you next time, or go and check out one of my other videos. I know that there is a little bit of, it's a bit sporadic, but that's how I like it. So check those out. I shall see you next time. Thanks for checking this out. Appreciate it. Bye.